Welcome to the Q Podcast.
Q is about conversation.
If we're really concerned about ending poverty, we've got to be more concerned about creating justice.
Our cultural products as Christians need to both defy and resonate with the culture.
And God's doing amazing things. His church is expanding, his church is growing.
It's not what's the purpose of my life, it's what is the purpose that's been assigned.
Stay curious, think well, advance good. This is Q.
Welcome back to another edition of the Q Podcast. I'm Gabe Lyons, and so glad you're joining us today to just listen in on one of the artists that so many people are listening to today. So many of a new generation, many in an older generation, are really enjoying the music of one named Lecrae. And Lecrae is somebody who has had a pretty meteoric rise in the hip-hop industry. He's a Grammy Award-winning artist and most recently released his book that really shares his story called Unashamed, which is a wonderful book. It was one I was so thrilled to endorse because many times you don't get to see behind the lives and the faces and the stardom of some of these people who are becoming well-known and famous in some ways in their cultural category. But in his book, he actually takes us deep and in a very vulnerable way explores what his life has been like, some of the questions and doubts and struggles and things that he's been through with his wife and their struggles and their learning and how God's continually transforming him. So it's both encouraging, but also something that challenges us to consider how God wants to use us in the world. And so in this 18-minute talk that he delivered at Q, he really shares about what goes into how he thinks about music, how he thinks about the truth going forward, how he thinks about what will help create a society that flourishes more. So join with me and let's listen in on this, as I think you'll be encouraged and inspired as well.
What is going on? How we feeling? It's good. Well, I'm honored to be here. I know this is a culture-making conference, and I'm very passionate about culture making and seeing people engage culture in new ways, and this is an honor for me. I really wish I could just be here and just sit and listen to all of the particular talks that are gonna go on today, but it's not the case. So I have three wonderful kids. Landon is 3, Amaya is 6, David is 7. And David, my oldest, is starting to write stories. And he gets his little construction paper and kind of binds them up together and begins to write stories. And one of his latest stories is called My Trip to the Zoo. So he gives me his book, and I look at it, and on page one goes like this. I went to the zoo. Page 2, the end. Now, don't you judge my kid. Don't judge my kid. Judge me. Judge me, because I told him it was phenomenal. He's gonna be a great writer one day. So, and he might be. He really might be. But it's great that he's writing and he's trying to use this aspect of his creativity. It's just that it wasn't a story, right? Like, it wasn't a story. Because what is a story, right? What is a story? A story is something has gone wrong, right? Something is broken, and then you have this protagonist who is fighting to fix the brokenness, and you have this antagonist who's fighting against the protagonist. So something has turned life upside down in a story, and then there's this protagonist or this pro-agonizer who's agonizing to change things, and you've got this antagonist, this anti-agonizer who's fighting against what you're agonizing for. So the issue with my son's story is that you can't derive any meaning from it, right? It's a statement, really. It's a couple of statements. Went to the zoo, the end. There's no meaning to pull out of it, right? We don't know what does that mean. It's just a statement. It's as if Jesus died, right? Jesus died. That's just a statement. Where's the power in that statement if I don't understand the story? If I don't understand why he died or for whom he died or what he died for? It's just a statement. And so the way we see the world, the way everyone sees the world, is shaped through story, right? You can't derive meaning from anything outside of a story. It's just the way we're wired. Our meaning comes from some sort of narrative. Some master narrative is where we draw our meaning from. So people are drawn to stories more than graphs or charts or facts or stats. People want to hear stories. And the way we see the world is going to come from a story. You can't attach meaning to something outside of a story. It's how we function. We need a storyline. We need this master narrative. So what people tend to do in life is we organize our broken reality by finding a storyline and attaching the good guys and the bad guys, the protagonists and the antagonists. That's how we look at everything. We're looking for a storyline in this broken reality and trying to attach good guys and bad guys to it. I'll give you an example. Ferguson. All right, what happened in Ferguson? It did mean something. But what did it mean? Right? What did it mean? What people will do is they'll attach a narrative to what happened there to derive the meaning from it. So let me give you one particular narrative of what someone would say happened in Ferguson. The black community are good people with bad circumstances. The police abuse their power, and we have to fight to show that Black lives matter in this country and that one day blacks can exercise their rights here and the police will be brought to task. And that's what transpired in Ferguson. Right? That's one narrative of what happened, and you derive meaning from that. Here's another narrative of what happened in Ferguson. The police are good guys doing the best they can in their job. And the people in that community who break the law are unfortunately going to face the consequences of that. We can't allow race to blind us from seeing that crime is crime and the justice system will ultimately work. It's another narrative. Two different narratives, different protagonists, different antagonists. Let me give you another narrative of what took place in Ferguson. What's happening in Ferguson shows that America is hurting and ignorance and anger are driving us apart. We need more conversation, more understanding, more community. Three different narratives, three different problems addressed, and different protagonists and different antagonists, because no one can pull a meaning out of what happened there without a particular narrative. But if you have a Christian worldview, if you see life through the Christian storyline, you know you're not the good guys. You're sinners. We're all sinners, right? The cops are not the protagonist. The black community is not the protagonist. Both suffer from the effects of the fall. And both need Jesus as the ultimate hero, the ultimate protagonist, but neither are the bad guys either. Then neither one are the bad guys. They're both made in God's image, full of dignity. And so we can't ultimately vilify one particular God-created person, place, or thing, and we can't ultimately glorify one particular individual person, place, or thing. The problem in this world is sin, and the solution is always going to be the gospel. The wonderful part about story, right, is story allows us to draw out the protagonist and the antagonist and to diagnose what's really broken in this world. That's the beauty of story. The beauty and the wonder of art is that the artist has the ability to tell stories. That's why I love being an artist, because I can tell stories and I can pull out who I believe is the ultimate protagonist, the ultimate antagonist, and what's really broken about the world that we live in. So the artist is a storyteller. The painter, the filmmaker, the songwriter, we are storytellers. We as artists get to push people toward the master narrative of our creation, our fall, and our redemption using stories. And people are drawn to stories. So when C.S. Lewis writes this narrative about a massive lion named Aslan, the world is drawn to the story, not a bunch of facts about sacrificial love. Right? You can't grasp the meaning of that without the story being told. The Lord of the Rings, one of my favorites. It demonstrates this human depravity, this darkness of the heart. in the darkness of our lives, wrestling with our sin nature, and the symbolism of the ring and those who possess it and those who covet it are dynamic in the context of a story. Right? Nobody's paying for an overpriced movie ticket to go sit in the theater and see the words, "The heart is deceitful above all things," and then exit. Right? We're paying to hear the story surrounding those facts. We want the story. So the artist can either use story to help people see God's master narrative, or use story to point to a lesser, unworthy protagonist and attribute all the evil in the world to an antagonist that should have never been given the right to claim all the evil. And I did this song on my latest album, shameless plug, Anomaly. And I told a story. The song's called Welcome to America, and I told a story from 3 different perspectives of 3 different people on their view of America. And, I wanted to draw out their different narratives and allow you to say, okay, this is what this person's thinking, but wait a minute, what about this perspective? But wait a minute, what about this perspective? And see if we can find their protagonists, their antagonists, and what they think is broken in this world. And so I want to show you this video. It's Welcome to America. You can cue that at Q.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon from the flight deck. We're cruising at 37,000 feet. We just passed over the coast. We'll be beginning our descent in about 30 minutes. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to America.
Yeah. I was made in America, land of the free, home of the brave. And right up under your nose, you might see a sex slave being traded. And would do anything for the money. Boy, mama might sell her babies. Sell porn, sell pills, anything to pay the bills, anything to bring that paper. Gotta scratch that itch, gotta scratch them ticks. Ain't rich, but I might be. And I'ma shoot these flicks, I'ma turn these tricks, anything for a slight fee. Yeah, made in America. Mama told me that I belong here. Had to earn our stripes, had to learn our rights, had to fight for a home here. But I wouldn't know a thing about that. All I know is drugs and rap. I probably could have been some kind of doctor instead of holding guns and crack. I was born in the mainland, great-grandpa from a strange land. He was stripped away and given bricks to lay. I guess you could say he a slave hand, but I was made in America, so I don't know a thing about that. All I know is Uncle Sam looking for me, working on his corner, so I know I gotta pay tax. Getting paid in America, I was raised in America, and this is all I ever known. If I'm wrong, then you better come save me, America. Welcome to 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 America. Man, I die for America. I served my time for America. Got shot back, went to war, got back, and ain't nobody give a jack in America. I could've lost my life, why I lost my wife. I can't even get right in my homeland. Cold sweats, whole text, paranoid, looking out for a threat in my own land. I was trained in America. How they get up in the planes in America? Flew right into the buildings, taking out some buildings. People getting killed in America. And I'm still in America. Though America ain't feeling me, I went to war for this country. Turned around, came home, and you drilling me? When y'all free here, saying you don't wanna be here, well, you probably couldn't breathe here if I didn't load a couple magazines here. Y'all just complain in America. I'm jumping out of military planes from America. Hey, I was made in America. That's why I'm out here saving America. I got a brother in the cemetery now cause he wanted y'all safe. And everybody want the freedom, but nobody want to hear about face. We bled for America, to keep y'all fed in America. But what's the point of talking? A lot of y'all don't really even care, America. Welcome to 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 America. I wish I lived in America. Wanna raise my kids in America. Heard everybody rich, all I gotta do is run, jump, kick. I'm a hit in your area. So please pick me, America. I know you probably never loved me. You never hear about me on the news, and you probably never been to my country. I hear you selling education, and got clothes that you throw away. Got plenty food in your nation. I can tell cause a lot of y'all are overweight. I already work for y'all. I'm in the sweatshops making these shirts for y'all. Now I ain't getting money, go to bed hungry, but I make some exports for y'all. Y'all don't know a thing about that. You was made in America. I'm trying to find me a ticket where the sky is the limit. Catch a plane to America. It should be plane to America. Y'all blessed and you got it made. Heard y'all don't pray no more. Y'all ain't say no more. Y'all looking for another way. Well, I hope it ain't true, but I'm packing my suit. Farewell to my motherland. Said bye to my loved ones. Fate, here I come. I'm going to another land. I done made it to America. I'm amazed at America. But I couldn't get approval to stay, so they sent me away from America.
Thank you. So in this song, I was able to use different narratives, right? There's the first narrative of a young man who, he feels as if his struggle is his protagonist. And he's gone through so much and experienced so much, and criminal enterprise is not his preference, but it's the hand he's been dealt. And America is his antagonist. Its biased systems and laws have made him who he is, right? And so he believes that America's the antagonist and his struggle is the protagonist. The second narrative is a soldier who is similarly gone through struggles, and he's fought for this country and he loves this country, and his antagonist is this unpatriotic tribe of Americans who don't appreciate what he's done for them. Right? He's lost everything for their gain, and he believes this country and its founding principles were pure. And patriotism is his protagonist, but he's not finding his patriotism serving him as well as he'd like. And then you've got this third character who's the immigrant who can't understand why Americans are so ungrateful for the wonderful country they have, the freedom they enjoy, the wealth of food and education, and they have clean water and beds and endless opportunity. And he speaks of working in sweatshops to provide our luxury, but he doesn't complain. He just wants to be a part of, join our ranks. And America is his protagonist, but she offers him this freedom that he longs for, but yet when he arrives, her immigration laws keep him from living here. And so what's consistently happening is that all these stories in their own right are true. They're just not ultimately true. They attribute evil to the wrong antagonist and place the ultimate hope in the wrong protagonist. And America's not the source of our brokenness, nor is it the source of our joy. The problem is always sin. The solution is always the gospel. So our Christian master narrative, our story says the world was made right and it fell due to sin. And Jesus is the ultimate protagonist who's coming to set it right again. In the same token, the Christian narrative does not attribute all the antagonism to people, places, or things. Sin is the ultimate problem. It's not Al-Qaeda, it's not racism. Those are effects of the problem, right? They can't take credit for ultimate antagonism. It doesn't mean they are not outlets for evil and destruction, but they're not the ultimate outlet. They're not the ultimate source. And in the same token, any protagonist outside of Jesus will always fail us. It's never going to be good enough. Patriotism, money, sex, relationships, they're all good things. They're just not ultimate things. They can't save us from our brokenness. And so the artist has the unique opportunity to show that if we take a good thing and make it an ultimate thing, we end up longing for more. We can tell parts of the story, we can tell some of the story, we can tell things that allude to the story, but ultimately we get the job of changing the way people see the world through story. Because everyone is looking at life through a story. Everyone has a worldview. It's our job to learn the culture story and enter into it and point them in different directions. God saved us all through a story. We weren't saved through charts and graphs. We were saved through a story. We were saved through a story that started in Genesis and ended in the coming of a Messiah and believing in his death and his resurrection. We were saved from that story. It wasn't a bunch of scientific facts and graphs and charts laid out together. We are here because we believe in God's story. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed hearing Lecrae share his story and just encourage us and challenge us really to think about how we're going to embody this maybe in your own field or in the place that God's called you. And if you want to watch that talk online, it's actually available at qideas.org, and you can actually see that moment throughout the talk where you heard the music. Like, you could actually watch that and just see what we saw when we sat and listened to Lecrae deliver this talk. And sign up to get our latest releases. Every week a new talk is released that you can actually hear. You can do that at qideas.org or follow us at qideas on Twitter or on Instagram. And we'll look forward to you joining us next week for our next episode.